Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today. It's Ali, Coram, and Ken Shreve here with a breakdown of the action in today's session, Wednesday, October 9th, where we saw a lot of green on the screen and another new all-time high for the S&P 500, Ken.
Yeah, and a nice close too. A flurry of buying during the final few minutes of trading. So this market uptrend is looking pretty good here. Wanted to take a look at good day for cruise line operators. So I think it makes sense to look at Viking, VIK. Also, Mercado Libre joined the leaderboard model portfolio today, MELI, and also investment bank EVERCORE, EVR, getting ready for a whole bunch of financial earnings. So we'll talk EVR.
Sounds like a plan. We will do that, but first let's take a closer look at the major indexes. Here's the S&P 500 up 0.7% on the day. Like you said, Ken, a strong finish here. The top mover in the major indexes was the Dow today with a closing high up 1% in today's session. The NASDAQ also delivered a solid gain here, up 0.6%, and the Russell 2000 participated as well, just to a lesser extent, and coming off of days highs, up about 0.25% by the end of the day. But Ken, let's start with the S&P 500. Our senior market strategist Mike Webster called yesterday's action a setup day, and what do you know? We got a breakout to all-time highs today.
Yeah, it's not showing up on the daily chart yet, but it looks like we got nice volume on the NYSE, so some conviction behind the buying when the S&P hits that all-time high today. So, really solid day. This is the leading index at this point. Broke out to a new all-time high today after an earlier breakout to all-time highs. So just really solid showing, and good to see, heavy volume on the breakout today after a recent trip down to the 21-day moving average. So S&P still looks like the leading index at this point.
Yeah, pretty picture perfect here for a power trend, Ken, that did officially develop as of a couple of weeks ago. And then when we got that pullback to the 21-day support, exactly where we'd like to see it. So with this powerful action today, Ken, what does that mean in terms of how investors should be handling their portfolios?
Well, hopefully you've got stocks that are working and going up. If that's not the case, you want to kind of take a step back and look at what is performing and what is not. It's rare when you have a portfolio that's filled with nothing but winners. So it's just a good idea to take stock and identify your leaders and your laggards. And for stocks that aren't working, you may want to continue or consider trimming them and moving money into the better performers.
Yes. Okay, let's also get your analysis of the action of the tech heavy index, the NASDAQ here, continuing to add to its gains, not at new highs just yet, but making some decent progress.
Yeah, you see that high of 18,327. At one point, the Nasdaq was within 25 points or so of that high. Don't think it crossed it yet, but this is certainly in position to break out here. So you have to like the setup for the Nasdaq composite as well. Not as much volume on the Nasdaq as the NYSE today, but still, this is an index that is setting up for a breakout try here.
Yeah, swimming in the right direction for
Yep.
sure. And let's go to the Dow. What was behind the strength here today in blue chips, Ken?
I mean, we have to look at IBM. I mean, that was just a monster mover in the Dow. I mean, look at this. Look at what this bull market has done. You see a gain like this for IBM. Now you're seeing a lot of charts out there of extended stocks that have just made incredible moves, and IBM is certainly in that group. So IBM was a big gainer today in the Dow. Honeywell, I think, was the best performer, HON, in the blue chip index, and it was definitely a strong performer here today. The Dow Jones, and just broad-based strength in the blue chip index today.
Great. Next on our list, let's check in on XLF financials. We know earnings season is imminent here with bank earnings kicking off later this week.
Yeah, JP Morgan reports Friday, and the CEO there is Jamie Dimon. He's been pretty vocal about cautioning, about downside risks to the economy, and he's been doing it for several weeks now. Maybe his tune has changed recently, but be very interesting to see what JP Morgan has to say Friday. XLF is in a nice setup here. I mean, no matter where you look, you see whether it's stocks or ETFs and nice setups here. So, JP Morgan and Wells Fargo are due Friday, and then we've got a whole slew of other financial stocks reporting next week. So, third quarter earnings season really starts to kick into gear Friday, and a whole bunch of, like I said, financial reports in the following week. So, like the setup of XLF here, of course, I think JP Morgan is a top holding of this ETF. So, we'll see what the numbers look like Friday.
And also underneath the surface, one of the notable areas of the market today on the downside, seeing rotation out of utilities, the likes of CEG, Constellation Energy, which we've been tracking for a while, Ken, down over 6% on the day. Just one example there. So XLU finally seeing this coming back down to earth a little bit, I guess you could say. We did see a notable down day on Monday as well for utilities. This has been an area of notable outperformance. So a little bit of selling or profit taking here.
Yeah, a little bit of profit taking, and I heard Justin Nielsen, our colleague on IBD Live this morning, was saying there was a article in the Wall Street Journal talking about the internet hype in the late '90s and all the power needs of computers and this and that, and if there are similarities to then and now with these utilities providing power for data centers and all this. So they just kind of raised the question. I think that sparked a little bit of selling in the sector today. We have XLU on leaderboard still. We added it on August 13th. Thought about trimming the position back a little bit today, but seemed like a fairly orderly pullback, even though it lost kind of a short-term support level here, closed off lows a little bit. So we're giving it the benefit of the doubt for now. So, but utilities have just made tremendous runs, so they may be ready to pause and consolidate here.
And I mean, if you look back at what we saw in April and May, I think that was really the first stretch for utilities where we were very impressed with the outperformance. And what happened from there? There was a consolidation period that created some buying opportunities, Ken. So perhaps, looking back in a couple of weeks, the same thing will happen because I think for a lot of investors out there, this strength in utilities caught some folks by surprise this year with utility stocks being treated like AI stocks here. So for those who have missed this move over the last couple of months, you need a new setup. And how do you get that? Some sort of pullback or digestion.
Yeah, and the utilities ETF initially broke out over the 73 level that you just highlighted, and after went on a pretty nice run over 80. So even a pullback to the 50-day moving average, the red line on the chart here would be a logical support level. So possible we could see the utilities just consolidate here. I mean, there is a growth story though. This
Right.
Wall Street Journal was kind of talking about similarities between the internet bubble and, like I said, but utilities are in the sweet spot for growth. There will be massive power needed to fuel these data centers. So I think the fundamental story is still compelling for a lot of utility stocks, but anything that runs up quickly always needs to digest and pause, and maybe XLU comes down to the 50-day moving average and firms up and forms a new base here.
It very well could. Okay, let's turn our attention to VIK. This is Viking in the cruise line space. It's not the only one that saw notable outperformance today. VIK, though, up 2.6% on the day. What about group peers? Well, you had Carnival, CCL up 7.1%, Norwegian up 10.9%, and arguably the leader in the group, Royal Caribbean, extending its gains at 5.3%. Viking, recent IPO from late April, early May, now in new high territory with a full-fledged breakout here.
Yeah, known for their river cruises, and the recent earnings have been a little choppy. The top line growth really hasn't been there, but you look at the estimates going forward, and there does appear to be a compelling fundamental story here. So this is an interesting stock. This is also on the leaderboard model portfolio. We put Viking on in early October. October 3rd, I think, was the date. So it's a relatively new holding. This is an interesting one to talk about because even though it's still in buy range from a conventional entry, that 37.25, if you switch over and look at the weekly chart, it is poised for its fifth straight weekly gain here. So I think new buyers, rather than nibbling up here, would probably be better served to wait for a pullback. We switch over to the weekly chart, Ali, and just want to show the weekly gains here for Viking. You can see 1, 2, 3, another 5 straight up weeks. So it's at a point where it could start to drift lower, and I think new buyers would be best to wait for a pullback here. Hopefully, it comes in light volume, and we don't see major signs of institutional selling. But I'd be wary about chasing it up at current levels, even though it's still technically in a buy zone. Watch for an orderly pullback, and I think that's your ticket.
Okay. Next on the list, let's check in on MercadoLibre. As you mentioned at the start, Ken, a new addition to our leaderboard portfolio today, getting above a number of key levels on the chart here. Please break down what we're seeing.
Yeah, well, we missed the breakout was a little tricky when it first moved over that 1750 level, call it, and we missed that breakout. But we said this is a stock with outstanding fundamentals, an e-commerce giant in Latin America. So we put it on the watch list, and we said we'll just wait for see what a pullback to the 10-week moving average looks like. So we like how the pullback booked, and so we put this one on the leaders list as well today. So nice normal consolidation here. Up so far this week, back above its 10-week moving average. And again, this is really a fundamental superstar. If you just look down at the recent earnings and revenue growth here, just really strong bottom line and top line growth. A company that has just continues to execute quarter after quarter after quarter. So first test of the 10-week moving average, good opportunity to start a reasonable position, and we'll hope that support holds. And if it sets up in a base, we could very easily add to the position.
Okay. And let's round things out with a look at EVR. This is EVERCORE in the Finance Investment Bankers and Brokers group. This group, Ken, is ranked number 14 out of the 197 groups that we track. And after an orderly pullback and support where you'd like to see in the base, at around number 250 at the 21-day line, seeing a break of a downtrend and a retaking of a prior flat base or consolidation buy point.
Yeah, I think the market is really looking out into 2025 and seeing a pretty good year when it comes to investment banking activity, and this is Evercore's sweet spot here. So just the fundamentals kind of speak for themselves. A little choppy in recent quarters, but look at in the second quarter when their earnings were up 89%, the top line growth was up 38%, and then just looking forward in coming quarters, you've got pretty compelling growth here. So this is definitely one of the better investment banks to watch from a fundamental and technical perspective. Had a little breakout a few weeks ago, and then it's just been kind of holding near highs, holding support at the 10-week moving average, and showing some tight weekly closes here. So this one looks very good. And again, just the caveat is that we do have a bunch of financial earnings reports, including Evercore. You see 14 calendar days. So third quarter earnings season really starts this Friday, and then it'll get real busy next week with a lot of financial reports and Netflix reports next week as well. So Evercore looks really solid here in anticipation of a pretty good 2025 for the company.
It sure does. All right. Well, thank you so much, Ken. And thanks everyone for tuning in. That is it from us for today. But as always, we will be back with more tomorrow morning on IBD Live, investors.com/IBD Live for all those details of our daily morning live stream. We meet 10 minutes before the opening bell and then discuss the day's action through the first 90 plus minutes of trade, not only looking at the indexes and stocks to watch that are actionable, triggering sell signals, you name it, but also portfolio management strategies. So check out investors.com/IBD Live for more. That is it from us for today, and we will see you right back here tomorrow after the close. But one more quick thing, we do have our live weekly podcast coming up at 5 p.m. Eastern. So please join our very own Justin Nielsen live on YouTube as he welcomes David Keller back to the show. So lots of great insights there, looking at the market from a technical perspective, also looking at what we might see as the last quarter of the year unfolds. Lots of twists and turns that we've seen so far, and it'll be great to get David's look at what we could expect for the remainder of the year. So we'll see you then, and then we'll see you right back here tomorrow after the close.